Hi, welcome to Eagle Recaps. Today, we will be going through a family adventure film called Mia and the White Lion. Warning, this video contains spoilers, so watch at your own risk. Watch out and take care. At the beginning of the movie, we see a 10-year-old Mia Owen talking to her friend Daniel through video conferencing. Soon, her father John starts calling her as she is getting late for school. Her father drops Mia and her brother Mick at the bus stop, where they get on the school bus. At the school, we see Mia sitting alone by herself, as she doesn't have any friends in this new place. Mia's family has recently moved from London to a South African lion farm, inherited by Mia's father. Ever since Mia has moved here, her life has turned upside down as she desperately misses her friends and old life in London. Later that day, Mia gets home from school after getting in a fight with other students. Mia says that she hates this place and doesn't consider it her home. Meanwhile, John tries to convince her that they are lucky to have such a beautiful farm as their home. That night, Mia closely listens to her mother Alice while she tells a bedtime story to Mick. The next scene is set on the day of Christmas. Mia and Mick, along with their mom, quickly run down the stairs to open their presents. Soon, John brings a little white cub into the room, which was born this very morning. But Mia is ignorant towards the cub, stating she doesn't care about some dumb animal. When Mia tries to contact her friend Daniel, he refuses to speak to her because of his busy schedule, which makes Mia sad. But the sight of the white cub puts a smile on her face. As time passes by, the cub slowly grows bigger by each day. One day, the cub punctures Mia's ball, which angers her, and she gets increasingly frustrated with her life in Africa. One day, while Mick is asleep, Mia finds the cub and eventually starts bonding with it. They decide to name the cub Charlie. With passing time, Mia grows so fond of Charlie that she spends most of her time with him, and even allows him to sleep on her bed. One day, when Mick has trouble sleeping, Mia tells him a bedtime story about a holy white lion that will help bring peace to Mother Nature. Mia thinks it is a legend, but Mick believes the story is true. The next day, Mia joins her father to feed the male lions on their farm. On their way, Mia asks her father about their business model involving the lion farm. John replies that they are mainly focusing on building a guest house for the tourists, filmmakers, and research. John later adds that they even sell lions to the zoos after they reach a certain age. Mia immediately requests her father not to sell Charlie ever. But John tries to convince her that lions are not pets, and someday Charlie will grow big enough to kill her. Later, John takes Mia for a ride around the area outside their farm, where he shows her different kinds of animals. When Charlie grows too old to be kept in the house, John decides to place the growing lion into an enclosure away from all human contact. However, Charlie doesn't seem to like his new surrounding and rejects any food offered to him. Charlie doesn't even defend himself while other cubs attack him. Meanwhile, Mia, who is on her school trip, badly misses Charlie and cannot concentrate on anything else. Later, she leaves her school company and decides to hitchhike her way back to her home. The next day, the school informs Mia's parents that she has gone missing. John and Alice get worried and they quickly decide to go look for her. However, Mia has already returned back home and is taking care of Charlie. There is a worried look on John's face as he notices the increasing closeness between Mia and Charlie. Time passes by and Charlie grows out to become larger and stronger. But still, Mia doesn't seem to be afraid of him and continues to play with him. Meanwhile, all the other family members are worried that Charlie will eventually hurt her someday. Someday later, John invites a group of tourists to give a tour of his farm. Unfortunately, one of them gets a slight injury because of Charlie, which scares the entire group of tourists. Soon, Mia comes out of the house and takes Charlie away from there. She even gets angry at her father for bringing so many people near Charlie and shouts at him for being money-minded. Later that day, John is visited by a trophy hunter named Dirk, whom he despises. One day, as Mia is playing with Charlie, Alice notices scars on Mia's arms and tells her to stay away from Charlie. But Mia defends Charlie by saying he is learning to control his paws and won't hurt her ever. Some day later, while the whole family is set to go for dinner in the city, Mia doesn't lock Charlie's enclosure properly. When they return back from dinner, they notice that the gate is open and Charlie has gone missing. John quickly forms a search party and goes to look for Charlie. Meanwhile, Mia sneaks out of her house and goes looking for Charlie all by herself. She eventually comes across an electrical fence, while Mick follows her. When Mia fails to open the gate of the lion enclosure, Mick calls for his pet elephant, Henry, to help them. For a while, Mia reunites with Charlie, and at the same time, John's assistant, Kevin, finds them too. In the next scene, we see that Charlie has become 2 years old and become a fully grown lion. However, Mia still plays with Charlie with no fear while Mick stays in the distance. Later, Mia invites Mick to come inside Charlie's shelter to play with him, even though Mick is hesitant about it. At the same time, Alice notices the two of them inside the shelter and starts panicking. Alice immediately calls for John, and the two of them tell Mia and Mick to get out. In a moment of panic and confusion, Mick gets indirectly injured by Charlie. After that incident, Mia's parents forbid her from interacting with Charlie, and if she does, they will sell him for money. Mia is heartbroken at her parents' decision, but still agrees with them for the sake of Charlie. Mia promises to Charlie that someday she will free him and take him to the Timbavati Reserve. One day, when Mick comes back from his therapy, he looks very sad and disappointed. In an attempt to confront him, Mia takes Mick outside and goes inside Charlie's enclosure, all by herself, to prove that Charlie won't hurt her. A happy Mick records Mia and Charlie on his phone. Mia tells Mick that one day Charlie will save them all, as told in the legend of the White Lion. Later that night, when John borrows Mick's phone, he learns that Mia has defied his instructions not to interact with Charlie. In retaliation, John immediately decides to sell Charlie to the best buyer that he can find. The next day, Mia secretly watches her father along with a hunter who's there to buy a lion. John then shoots a lion with a tranquilizer and proceeds to load it on the truck. To uncover the whole truth, Mia climbs on the top of the truck and hides. Upon arriving at a nearby hunting site, Mia sees Dirk hosting a group of tourists, preparing them for a hunt. Mia eventually realizes that the farm she lives on is selling lions to be shot by trophy hunters to make money. Later that night, Mia abruptly leaves the dinner table as she is disgusted by the fact that her father sells lions to the trophy hunters. She reveals the facts to Mick, who is not ready to believe her. She then reveals her plan to save Charlie from this cruel practice and take him to the Timbavati Reserve. Mick helps her to plan the journey and gives away all of his life savings to her. That night, Mia sneaks out of the house and releases all the animals of the farm. She then takes Charlie with her, and they begin their journey across South Africa. The next morning, Alice and John are terrified to discover all the animals roaming freely outside their house. After checking the footage from the security camera, they learn that Mia is behind all of this. Meanwhile, Mick informs Mia about their parents through his phone so that she can plan further. John carries his tranquilizer rifle and goes out to look for Charlie and Mia. Upon finding them, Mia manages to get a hold of John's rifle and commands him to leave Charlie alone. Mia confronts John about the hunting incident. John tries to defend his actions and takes a step forward, but Mia immediately shoots him in the leg with the tranquilizer rifle, which puts him down. Mia then takes John's car along with Charlie and informs Mick about John's location so that he can pick him up. After the fuel runs out, Mia decides to stop at a gas station to refuel. However, when she goes inside to pay for the services, she notices a news channel broadcasting her name and her image. Mia quickly gets out of there and continues her journey on the road. After a while, Mick informs Mia that the police have set up roadblocks around the area, so she needs to get off the highway. Midday through her journey, Mia gets increasingly frustrated with her situation and loses all of her confidence. She then climbs on the hood of the truck along with Charlie to relax. Back at home, Dirk pressurizes John to deliver the White Lion to him by tomorrow, even though it seems highly unlikely. The next day, Mia wakes up and starts driving towards her destination. On the other hand, Dirk arrives at John's doorstep and demands for Charlie. John tries to tell him off by saying that the deal has been canceled, but Dirk is not ready to listen. Dirk has his heart set on making Charlie his next trophy, and sets out across the country to get him. Soon, John, along with Alice and Mick, set out to search for Mia and Charlie. Meanwhile, Mia learns that she had been following an outdated map, which leads her to a shopping mall instead. Mick informs Mia that the police have ordered a shoot-on-sight order for Charlie. Having no other option left, Mia takes Charlie inside the shopping mall, which scares everyone in the building. Kevin informs John and the rest about a lion sighting in a nearby shopping mall. Finally, Mia manages to get to another side of the mall in the open field, while Dirk continues to look for them. Later that night, Mia climbs up a tree to rest, while Charlie wanders off on his own. The next day, Mia is caught by Dirk and another trophy hunter who is set to kill Charlie. Dirk demands his white lion when suddenly Charlie arrives at the scene and manages to attack him. Dirk starts screaming and shouts at the hunter to shoot the lion. Mia manages to escape with Charlie while John arrives along with his family. John threatens Dirk to leave and tells him he doesn't care about his farm anymore. From there, John and his family continue to look for Mia. On the way, Alice learns about the hunting incident and gets furious with John. Mick then reveals to them that Mia is taking Charlie to the Timbavati Reserve. After walking for a while, Mia seems to have lost all her energy as she barely manages to walk. John and his family inform the police about Timbavati Reserve. Alice reveals to Mick that when he was a little boy, a similar hunting incident left him traumatized and is the reason for his bad mental health. Eventually, Mia manages to arrive at the Timbavati Reserve, and the locals are excited to see a white lion in their area. Soon, Mia's family and the police spotted Charlie and Mia entering the reserve. The police attempt to shoot Charlie, but John covers him with his own body. Later, they all lower their guns once Charlie is safely in the reserve, as they cannot shoot inside a reserve. In the last scene, Mia and her family revisit the Timbavati Reserve and are delighted to see that Charlie has mated with a lioness and has a litter of cubs. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and turn on notifications, as it helps the channel. Take care, and goodbye.